way better than a city like Lagos in relation to mental health. But at the same time, it still has its own challenges because, of course, it's a high-profile city where you have a lot of people, you have a lot of interactions, and what have you. Yes, so yes, it comes with its own mental health implications.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest sources of stress for Abuja residents currently?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't stay in Abuja. I reside in Lagos.
Okay.
So I might not be able to speak directly to the challenges, people of Abuja
Okay.
are facing, except of course I speak from the spectrum of any high-paced city like Abuja. Yeah. But
Okay.
to speak directly to what the challenges might be, I am not sure I would be totally qualified to do that.
Okay, so because you're not a resident of the city, you're saying you're not better placed to speak on that. But as a major city, as a fast-paced city, as you mentioned earlier, and drawing comparisons to Lagos, what are the biggest sources of stresses for residents in major cities like Lagos and Abuja? What are the general sources that we can speak on?
Yes, I would say, just trying to get a source of livelihood, survival, would be a major stress factor for a high-paced city like Abuja, where people, on a daily basis are trying to make ends meet,
Hmm.
and that in itself, comes with its own challenges. I know traffic situation is not the same in Lagos as it is in Abuja,
Right.
so yeah, so that will not be a factor, for residents of Abuja. I would also say that there is also a sense of competition in Abuja, as far as I know,
Okay.
because Abuja is the capital city or the capital territory of Nigeria.
Right.
And yes, that in itself means that there'll be a lot of cash inflow. And, sometimes when you're on the other side of a divide, you could get envious, jealous, or competitive because of that.
Okay.
So that could also be another challenge that Reserve Abuja might be facing.
Okay. So, in the world today, many people juggle demanding jobs, their long commutes, and then there's a rising cost of living and also the additional pressures of family responsibilities. How can these pressures affect mental well-being?
Yeah, pressure. I like to say mixed diamonds, but pressure has to be measured. It has to be realistic for it to produce the right amount of um, diamond, if I might say.
Okay.
So pressure pressure can also have devastating effects, if not properly managed. And one of the ways that pressure can affect is pressure produces a lot of the times it produces perfectionists and or what we might also call discouraged perfectionists. What that means is when people try to be perfect, when people try to meet up to expectations placed on them by society and by life, and they're not able to, they become discouraged and they slip into other things. It could be vices, it could be even developing a low self-esteem, as the case may be. So, yeah, when pressure is not measured, it could actually affect one's mental health because you're not just able to meet up with the pressure and those expectations. So it means that many times people even begin to give up, slip into depression. They become anxious about tomorrow and what the future holds and brings for them as a result of not being able to meet up to those expectations as a result of that pressure. So yes, so pressure could really have those kinds of effects on our mental health if not properly managed.
So, speaking of proper management of these pressures, how can Abuja residents and Nigerian residents at large, how can they manage these pressures?
Yeah, I think everyone needs to set their own standards. It's very important that you don't allow other people's standards be your standard, because that's where the pressure comes from. Or the unnecessary pressure comes from when you are allowing other people's standards to be your standards. What are your own standards? The competition should not be between you and somebody else. The competition should be between you and yourself. It should be between you and your goals, between you and your vision, where you ought to be and where you are right now, not where somebody else is. You should enjoy your own journey and set your own standards for your own journey. That way, the pressure is measured, the pressure is realistic, as opposed to somebody else's or expectations. Because at the end of the day, we are all running our individual races, and there would always be people who are better than us, and there will always be people we are better than. That's why comparison is really a stealer or a thief of joy. So it's important that you make sure that your expectations are realistic of yourself, and you run at your own pace. Because a lot of times people are happy until they begin to compare themselves to other people.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very important that you set your own standards. It's also very important that you have people around you who you call maybe friends and close allies, who are people that are not unnecessarily competitive. Yes, there are people who can motivate you, people who can inspire you to do better for yourself, but it's not like they are jealous or envious when you get something done, and it also inspire you to become jealous of what they have as well.
Okay.
So it's important to have those kind of people that can, encourage you, yes, motivate you, yes, but not people who would inspire you towards jealousy or envy.
Okay, so sometimes we have conversations generally, humans and Nigerians as well, where we have conversations saying I had to exit this space because it was unsafe for me. Are you speaking to that with if you find yourself in a place where you have to constantly compete and compare yourself to others, and there's a bit of toxicity and negativity, then you should exit for your sanity and for your mental health?
Yeah, if you need to, really, whatever serves your best interest, if that's what you need to do, please go ahead and do that. The caveat, however, is that sometimes people leave uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable places, not because it is toxic, but because they can't handle the healthy pressure that comes from that association. So it's important to draw the line, to know that, okay, the associations that will push you, there are people that will push you to your very best. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but it's good for your future and for your destiny.
All
but
right.
then there are certain people who are just toxic. People, for example, who talk down on you, who talk down at what you do, who play down on your visions, your aspirations, your goals, who make it look like it's you versus them. So it's not about us versus the world. It is you versus them. It's almost like you are in a competition with them, and you're not in a competition with life. So when you are in that other situation, then that's a situation you need to maybe leave. But if it's that people are pushing you, they are making you feel uncomfortable, and it's supposed to be what's supposed to be inspiring is now is now uncomfortable for you, then that's a place you need to be, because you need those uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable places, and people to actually push you to your next level.
Okay.
But for people who are toxic, then those are people that you want to avoid, because of course they are taking away from you and not adding to you.
Okay. So Abuja is often described as a city where people are constantly chasing success. You yourself mentioned earlier about it being a fast-paced city, and you just pointed out the difference between healthy pressure and unhealthy pressure. Can that constant chase of success, can it become unhealthy?
Yes, really, because again, we need to now define what success is, because a lot of the times people are chasing shadows, and it's almost like a journey without an end. Right. So it's important to define what success is for you, because at the end of the day, economists have said that human needs are insatiable. So it means that no matter the level you get to right now, you would always aspire for more. There's a song I think by Tenny that says Dangote still define money. So Dangote, as rich as he is still looking for money, building more businesses. So if making money, for example, a particular amount of money is your definition of happiness or success, you get to that point and discover that you really need to make more money because what you have won't be enough. So you need to define what success is for you, and that also helps you to define what happiness is. Because if not, you just keep chasing shadows and chasing things and never be able to catch them or never be able to meet up because it is there is really no limit. There is really no, and that's really why we have people, for example, in certain coffers who steal monies and then they steal all they can or they steal and sit on the can.
Yeah.
Because really it's a journey without an end. It's just it's about greed. It's no longer about even success. So I believe, for example, that there is success as a personal, success as an event, and that also needs to be differentiated. Success as an event is I pursue a particular goal or a particular project and I succeed at it. Right. Success as a person is about my character, it's about my legacy, it's about what I am leaving behind for the next generation in terms of my values. Right. That is success as a person. And that's more important than success as an event. To say that I can fail as an event and still be successful as a person. Right. And I can succeed as an event and still be a failure as a person. So I think that difference also needs to be made so people understand that success as a person is more important than success as an event. So if I fail an exam, it doesn't make me a failure as a person, right? And if I make money through illegal means, through fraud, I might have succeeded as an event, but I'm also a failure as a person because I compromised my integrity and the person I'm supposed to be. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Miracle, thank you so very much. If you're just joining us, this is the Roundtable today, Friday, July 24, and our topic today is about mental health. When people hear about mental health, what do they think it is? So the topic is mental health in the city. Is Abuja coping with the pressure? Our guest today is clinical psychologist Mr. Miracle Ihioma. He's also a life coach and author and corporate trainer with over a decade of experience supporting individuals, families, and organizations in achieving emotional wellness, resilience, and peak performance. And Mr. Miracle has been talking to us about what mental health is and, pressures, healthy pressure and healthy pressures, what the definition of success is for you, what you need to do, by what measures do you measure success in your life, and how people can, choose what works for them to enable mental well-being. If you'd like to join in the conversation, you can join in via WhatsApp on 09030005915, and you can also call us on 09030006915. We'll go on a short break, but stay with us. We'll be back after this very short break. Thank you.
High on vibes,
not on drugs.
On Clean Beats 91.5 FM.
I am Brigadier General Mohammed Boob Amarua, retired, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. To my young people, your talent is greater than drugs. Protect your future. Stay drug-free. Keep flexing with Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja.
The news that matters, the music that lifts you, and the voices that speak your language. This is more than radio. This is Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja.
This is the Roundtable.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on the Roundtable today. We have been talking about, just before we went on a break, we've been talking about mental health in Abuja. So our topic today is about mental health in the city. Is Abuja coping with the pressure? And joining us to speak on that is Mr. Miracle Ihioma, a clinical psychologist. So Mr. Miracle, thank you for joining us today. So just moving on to what you said about, success, and you need to define what success is for you, and try to find a balance, in terms of the pressure, like a measured pressure. How can someone tell the difference between normal stress and a mental health concern that needs professional attention?
That's a very, very good question. Yeah, of course, everybody, for example, faces stress and experiences stress. Stress is your body's way of telling you that you might need to slow down a bit. You might need to make certain adjustments. So that's why I tell people that stress is not always bad. So there's even what is called good stress. But when you don't pay attention to that signal that your body or your mind is giving you, and you continue in that same trajectory, then you get to a point where stress becomes maladaptive, where something that is supposed to be good in that sense now becomes negative, now begins to serve a very bad purpose, right? And then you might then begin to experience some other levels or expressions of stress. We could show up in depression. It could show up as anxiety. It could show up as post-traumatic stress disorder. It could even show up as what is called acute stress. Acute stress is like a shorter version of PTSD. It could show up as burnout, where you have now come to your wit's end in that sense. So it's important to pay attention to your mind and to your body, and to know the signals, because each time before it gets to that all of those points that I've mentioned, your mind and your body gives you signals to say, okay, I think you need to take a break, you need to make an adjustment here. Yeah. And it's important to pay attention to those signals that it's giving you and attend to it also them before it becomes a bit too late.
Okay, so you spoke about burnout. Now, burnout has become a common term. Every time, your friends and family will be like, you haven't been out much. You'll be like, oh, I'm suffering from burnout. So it's quite commonly used at the moment. What exactly is burnout, and how does it differ from ordinary tiredness? So how do I know that I'm about to crash out, and how do I know I'm just tired?
Okay, burnout is really just like if you're driving a car, and then you buy some fuel in the car. That fuel is supposed to take you to a particular point, right? And you get to say your tank begins to tell you that it's remain just maybe one bar, and you need to fill up your tank. But then you ignore that and continue to go, and then it tells you, oh, it's running empty, and then you keep on going, and then at some point your car stops and there's a breakdown as a result of not slowing down, or pausing, or reinforcing, as the case may be. That is really what burnout is. It is really just running empty for too long, where your body and your mind begins to break down. That is really what burnout is about. Yeah. Where you begin to experience numbness.
Okay.
You begin to even sometimes feel detached from your work, from people. You begin to experience what is called anhedonia. That is a loss of pleasure in what used to give you joy or satisfaction. So all of these things are as a result of burnout. You have run out of fuel. And at that point, just like when your car runs out of fuel, you would no longer, it won't just be refilling the car that solves the problem anymore, because the fact that your car broke down has also caused other damages in the car. You also now need other things to be fixed by a mechanic for that car to get running again. The same thing with burnout. When you get to that point, maybe it was sleep that you needed to really just deal with that interim exhaustion that you, because this is the program. This most times starts with stress, then moves to mental exhaustion, And then when that is not attended, when stress is not attended to, it moves to mental exhaustion. When mental exhaustion is not attended to, it now gets to burnout. So maybe at the point of mental exhaustion, maybe what you needed was maybe 1 or 2 days off to just recuperate, have a good sleep, and then come back better refreshed. At the point of burnout, you no longer need 1 or 2 days sleep because that will no longer solve the problem. It has become a bit more complex and more complicated. That you might even now need extended periods of rest. It's maybe even speaking to a professional, and what have you. Yeah.
So can I ask, is memory loss one of the markers of a burnout?
Yes. Memory loss could actually be one of the effects or one of the symptoms. It's not very rampant, but yes, it could be, because one thing that happens with burnout and even with mental exhaustion is, as powerful as our brain is, our brain also has limited resources. So when you overwork your brain can slow down, which is why there are days where you feel sharper than others in terms of how you think and how you deliver, how productive you are. Because those days where you are very productive, you're sharp, are the days where your brain is working at the optimal. On the days where you're a bit sloppy and all of that, are the days where your brain is slowed down a bit. Right. So when your brain is slowed down a bit, and we know that one of the functions of the brain is memory, and learning, which is what the hippocampus does. So when your brain slows down, it could actually begin to forget things. Yeah, because it is now fatigued. It needs to recuperate itself. So that could be, yeah.
Okay, so earlier we're talking about, there's an environment of demanding jobs now, especially in major cities. What can employers, so a lot of people spend most of their time at work. What can employers do to create healthier workplaces?
I couldn't come with that.
What can employers do to create healthier workplaces?
Okay, yeah. So just like you said, we spend a lot of time at work, maybe a lot more time at work than we even do at home. So it means that we need to make work home. Not in every sense, because if it's in every sense, it means that people will need to be coming with their beds. But we need to make it feel comfortable. We need to create safe spaces. There's something called psychological safety, and that's something every work environment needs to bring into their work. In fact, it's been discovered in 2012. Google did a research. It's called Project Aristotle, and they wanted to find out why some organizations achieve better results than others. They went to do that research unbiased, really wanted to find out. So they found about maybe 200 companies, organizations, and they found out that the number one reason why some organizations do better than others, number one that topped the charts across all of these organizations, is psychological safety. And in an environment or a workplace where people can air their views, where people are not afraid to make mistakes, where people, can speak freely. That's something every organization should incorporate. Yeah. Every organization needs to reduce the power gaps amongst employees. Every organization needs to create safe spaces. Every organization needs to embrace employee assisted program. That is a program where mental health support is available and accessible to every employee, because a lack of that, as research has also shown, is costing organizations billions of pounds and dollars worldwide.
Okay.
So the more mentally stable, mentally capable and safe employees are, the better they can be productive, which would invariably result in the company's turnover. So it's important that employers begin to embrace all of these things within the organization, and they will definitely begin to see the results in their books, and most importantly, within the lives of their employees.
Okay, so when should someone seek professional help rather than trying to cope alone? So if they notice they're starting to feel some kind of way, they're losing pleasure in things that brought them joy before, when should they seek professional help rather than trying to cope alone?
Okay. I wrote an article one time, and the title of the article was "You need to speak to a therapist when." So I stated maybe 10 things or 10 points you need to speak to a therapist. And one of those is when you notice that your attitude, habits, or lifestyle is grossly beginning to affect your finances, then you need to speak to a therapist.
Okay.
Number two, when your attitudes, your habits, lifestyle is constantly affecting your relationships with other people, you need to speak to a therapist. Number three, when you can no longer keep up with the activities of daily living, such as bathing, brushing, etc., not as a result of any physical ailment or impairment, you need to speak to a therapist. Number four, when you have no one to share your feelings or struggles with, you need to speak to a therapist. Number five, when you can't handle your feelings and you feel overwhelmed by feelings of sadness or anxiety, you need to speak to a therapist. Number six, when you have tried everything in your power to change a particular habit or behavior and you cannot, you need to speak to a therapist. When you have struggled with a thought, an emotion, or a habit for over a month, then you need to speak to a therapist. When people close to you have suggested over time that you need help, and you take it seriously and speak to a therapist. And when you are using drugs or alcohol to cope with something in your life, then you need to speak to a therapist. Yeah.
Okay. So finally, what message would you like to leave with anyone listening who may be silently struggling today?
Could you come again with that?
What message would you like to give, advise anyone that is listening who may be silently struggling today?
Yes, I would say seek help because help is available. Talk to someone today. Yeah. Don't be shy, ashamed, or or any of the emotions that would inhibit you really from talking to someone. Go ahead today. Don't procrastinate it. Today, as soon as this program is over, reach out to someone and let them know what you're going through. Because, like they have said, a problem shared is a problem half solved. And I like to always add that a problem concealed is a double problem. Why is that so? Because there are two types of problems. They are real problems, they are emotional problems. When you are dealing with challenge, it's a real problem. When you are not able to deal with it, when you don't share the challenges that you have, it becomes an emotional problem. So it means that when you don't share your issues, when you don't speak to someone about what you're going through, then you now have two problems to deal with, the real problem and then the emotional problem. So you'd rather be dealing with one problem by reaching out to someone today, and who knows, you might be able to get a solution to even the real problem when you speak up.
Okay, so finally, what are there resources available for Nigerians to seek therapy? So are there any registers, lists of licensed therapists that Nigerians could go and book appointments with to seek counseling? Where can they find these therapists?
Yeah, and we're still coming up with a bit of more standardization in terms of that in Nigeria. But I know that there is a National Association of Clinical Psychologists that exist. But of course, so therapists are everywhere, really. But again, because they're everywhere, you need to be circumspect so that you don't choose the wrong one. So you can search on social media platforms. We are all there. But at the same time, you want to verify and do your due diligence, on anybody that you reach out to. So you can simply ask them for evidence that they are who they say they are, before you engage their services.
Okay. All right, Mr. Miracle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It has been a pleasure having you join us and learning from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that has been our topic today on the roundtable. We have been speaking on mental health in the city. Is Abuja coping with the pressure? We were joined by clinical psychologist Mr. Miracle Ihioma. He is a life coach, author, and corporate trainer with over a decade of experience supporting individuals. His professional experience extends to crisis intervention, mental health counseling, trauma recovery, and personal development. And like the clinical psychologist, Mr. Miracle, said, and also the World Health Organization, mental health is a state of mental well being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life and realize their abilities, learn and work well, and contribute to their community. It has intrinsic and instrumental value and is a basic human right. I think usually when people hear the term mental health, they often think only of mental illness, but Mr. Miracle has told us what does mental health actually mean. The World Health Organization too has spoken on that. And if you're looking to speak to somebody, if you're looking to seek counseling and therapy, as Mr. Miracle has said, you could check social media pages. A lot of these psychologists and therapists are on social media, but he said there are many, but always do your due diligence when you're dealing with them. Ask to see their credentials, and you need to see that they're licensed. And also visit there's a National Association of Psychologists in Nigeria. So you could also go and familiarize yourself with that association as well and seek therapy, speak to somebody. Do not hold do not just bottle up any problems, any pressures you're feeling. And then how do you know if the pressure, because you might think, this pressure is normal, but then how do you know it's normal? How do you know it's healthy? And like Mr. Miracle has said, we need to ensure that the pressures we face are measured, and we also need to ensure and be able to tell the difference between healthy pressure and unhealthy pressure, and just speak to somebody and seek help before the burnout starts, before it escalates, before you completely shut down, your body completely shuts down and you crash out. So that has been an interesting topic for us today. I mean, and as an Abuja resident, and as we all know, this is a fast-paced city, like Mr. Miracle has said. And residents in every fast-paced city, Abuja, Lagos, New York, London, we hear things about residents. Maybe we all have things in common. I think New Yorkers and maybe Abuja and Lagos residents have more in common than maybe residents of other major cities. But it seems to be something that is quite common with residents of major cities. So there are extra demands that come with living in major cities, and this is a federal capital territory. There are a lot of expectations when you move here for yourself that you have for yourself and others have of you, but do not do more than yourself. And how do they say again? Cut your coat according to your size. Do not do more than yourself. Try and do things in a healthy way. Spend healthily. Do not try and compete. Do not try and unhealthy comparison is a thief of joy, as Mr. Miracle has said. And I hope that you gain some insights and learn some things from our talk on the roundtable today with clinical psychologist Mr. Miracle Ihioma. If you're just joining us, we're still on. This is the roundtable today, Friday, July 24. It comes up every weekday. I got too excited. It comes up every weekday at 8:30 a.m. I always say that to remind you, so you look forward to when the roundtable comes on. If you'd like to join the conversation today about mental health in the city, is Abuja coping with the pressure, and also our previous segment where we were talking about what was making headlines today across Nigeria, you can send a message via WhatsApp on 090-3000-5915, and you could also call us. We'd like to hear your voices this really fine Friday morning. You could call us on 090-3000-6915. I'll call out the numbers again. On WhatsApp, it is 090-3000-5915. And on calling, it is 090-3000-6915. So we have a message on WhatsApp from one of our listeners, and it says, "Good morning, TK. Nigerians are suffering from the increase in petrol prices." So I think this listener is talking about the headline on the Daily Trust about petrol prices going up to 1,400 naira per litre, and transport is gonna go up. The transport prices will go up, and so he says Nigerians are suffering from the increase in petrol prices. At the moment, they are trying to cope with the current economic hardship, and now fuel prices have gone up again. He says the government needs to do something really quickly. Right now, the level of suffering and stealing is very high. And that is Phils from Lube. Phils from Lube, thank you very, very much. So Phils is saying that, the price of fuel is going up again. It's getting up to 1,400, according to the Daily Trust, the headline on the Daily Trust and other newspapers as well. And so Phils is saying the government needs to do something really quickly because Nigerians are trying to cope with the current economic hardship, and now fuel prices have gone up. And that ties in with the topic we had today, where your mental health can also suffer some sort of challenges where you are dealing with a rising cost of living and the pressures of fending for yourself, fending for your family. The current economic hardship can have an impact, negative, if I might say, on your mental health. And so Phils from Abuja is calling on the government to do something really quickly for Nigerians. So that has been the Roundtable today, Friday, July 24, 2026. Fridays, we're usually happy, aren't we? Because it's the last working day of the week, and thank God it's Friday, because you could go home and you can relax and you can sleep. And that's actually a good thing. And I think that works for your mental health as well. In a city like Abuja, where you're expected to always be on it, I think it's good to also take time out of your busy schedule and have time for yourself, rest, recharge, and just so that your brain can also rest and sleep. I think we underestimate the power of sleep. Sleep is really, really good. And on that note, after I've told you how good sleep is, we wrap up the show today. It has been a pleasure sitting with you all in the Abuja Square today on the round table. And coming up is, after the roundtable, is the news update at 10 a.m. and then followed by Clean Slate with Henny. My name has been and always will be Takumbo Wright. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
This is the Round Table.
Sing up the music you love.
Spinning up the music you love. Clean Beat 91.